Good morning, depending on where you're located. My name is Kristen Schrader, and it's my privilege to lead the partnerships team here at Parker Dewey, where I get to collaborate with higher education institutions nationwide who are really excited about bringing opportunities to their students and engaging their external stakeholders in new ways to recruit and hire their students. That's one hat that I wear, though. The other hat is that I get to lead all of these amazing programs that we're going to talk about here today under this Gigs for Good umbrella. Don't worry if you've never heard of this before, but this is where I get to just essentially play Oprah, but also have this amazing opportunity to connect organizations like yours to be able to engage early career talent at no cost to your organization. My background is in human resources, and then I pivoted over to higher ed relatively early in my career as I was really passionate about that early career time frame of one's life. So I've worked in career services, but I've also worked in HR and very familiar with all of the different aspects of what we're going to be talking about today and some of the challenges that you may be facing in your organization with hiring people. You know, hiring is hard. And what I'm really excited to share with you today is this amazing opportunity to again engage these students from this nationwide pool of talent who are excited to work with your organizations, but just need some opportunities. And you can provide those opportunities, again, at no cost, thanks to these awesome programs. So just a couple of housekeeping things before we dig in. We are going to talk about a lot of nuts and bolts around this program, but that's going to be largely in the latter half of today's conversation. For the first portion, I want to really focus on more of the strategic aspects of things, what a micro-internship is, but also where this might fit in strategically for those of you who are interested in and focused on early career recruiting. Again, we'll get to the section about how to get started and really the nuts and bolts, but I'm going to leave a kind of a halfway point where you can take it from there and run fly solo. But if you want to learn more, you'll have that opportunity to stick around. I do have the chat in front of me, so please, if you have questions along the way, fire away. I'd love to be able to answer those as close to real time as I possibly can. And yeah, again, just without any further ado, let's go ahead and start digging in. So first of all, most of you are probably familiar, at least somewhat, to Parker Dewey, but I do want to just give a quick intro if you need a little bit of a refresher. So you may notice our logo is essentially a Venn diagram. And that's because we have three primary stakeholders: students, universities, and colleges, which are the folks that I generally tend to focus and get to talk to the most. But then I also every so often get to talk with all of you, which is something I really enjoy, because organizations play a critical role in allowing these students and schools to have these great opportunities. How does this help you? Our goal is to help you access, engage, assess, and ultimately hire early career talent in the most effective way possible. Now, our method of doing so are via what we coined as micro-internships. We define them as short-term, paid professional projects designed for early career talent. We coined the phrase about 10 years ago and really learned a few things along the way about things like how to, or what kinds of projects make for good experiences in this model, good for both you and for students. What's a fair compensation rate? Why do you even need to pay the students in the first place? We've got a lot of data to really show the efficacy of this model that I'll be sharing with you along the way as well. Which leads me to my third stakeholder, which are these students. Who are the students? Well, for our platform, it engages a nationwide pool of early career talent. Early career meaning these are mostly college students or recent graduates from 2- and 4-year institutions across the United States. However, we also partner and engage with a variety of non-traditional academic programs as well. These might be university-affiliated graduate certificate type programs, but it also might be boot camps, training certification programs, folks that are not necessarily ones who are pursuing a 2- or 4-year degree, but still have a very focused training in a particular, typically technological type of role. And again, our ultimate goal is that you're able to meet and work with the next members of your team, your future colleagues. So why do we want to start here? Well, first and foremost, as I said at the top, hiring is hard. We've all done it, but it is hard, probably not something that any of us particularly enjoy all that much if you have an immediate hiring need. I know I've been in interviews actually over the past couple of weeks. But early career is particularly challenging because what we are hearing day in and day out from companies is that it's expensive. It doesn't allow students to showcase all the skills they've learned both in and out of the classroom. And many students aren't even able to participate or don't participate for a variety of different reasons. Where does that leave you? Well, it leads to a lot of ineffective results. There's a lot of mishires. There's disengaged hires. There's students that you just should have hired, but you didn't even know about because they didn't know even about your organization or your opportunities. And just to give you some data around this, we survey students every year asking them point blank, how do you want to be recruited? And what we've heard from them is 71% say that recruiting doesn't let them demonstrate their skills. They're eager to show you what they can do. But we've all seen it with these resumes. They all kind of look about the same. And interviewing, it only goes so far. What we have found to be most effective is a chance to work with the students through these short-term projects. We're also seeing that the cost effectiveness of micro-internships is significantly reduces that overall $6,100 cost per hire, according to the latest data from NACE. So again, real excited to be able to share more about this model and why it works, but also how you can try this out at no cost. Now, in terms of your overall strategy, what's also nice is the flexibility of the micro-internship model, because through this platform, you are able to have an ever-ready pool of talent that's interested and that's engaged and that you can truly assess their skills because you've worked with them or you or your colleagues. So for example, no matter what stage of the hiring process that you're focusing on, maybe it's early career, focusing on brand awareness, maybe it's that you're trying to really assess who's going to be the right fit for my internships or my longer term roles. Maybe it's trying to keep those folks that you've already made offers to engaged and excited. Or maybe it's you had a last minute request for a new person. How do I, fill that early career role? No matter where you are in that process, we can help through this model. And again, real excited to share more. Now, Gigs for Good is a unique opportunity of you to take advantage of organizations who have generously provided funding for micro-internships. You can see some of these different logos of organizations that we are working with real time. So essentially this means that these micro-internships are posted exclusively for specific students to do work on behalf of these organizations like yours at no cost to you. And for you, this means a great opportunity to give this a try, to really support that early career recruiting strategy by working with students that you may not have otherwise met, to focus in on some open roles that you're still trying to fill, even though it's March and kind of gearing towards the end of that spring recruiting season. Maybe it's that you need that talent pipeline that is just because you just had a request for an open role that you need to fill really, really soon. Or maybe it's this ad hoc project that if your desk looks like mine, isn't going to be done today or tomorrow, probably not either. No matter where you are in this process, this is where this can plug in. Now, I know when I hear, okay, something doesn't cost me anything and I'm going to get some really nice benefits, what's in it for those that catch? Well, in this case, these organizations have generously provided this funding because they really believe in this model. But it also aligns with various other strategic initiatives of theirs, most of which is on creating equitable pathways from college to career, which is core to our mission here at Parker Dewey. For the colleges and universities who are funding micro-internships, they're doing so oftentimes because it's very budget friendly. Their mission is to support as many students as possible, and this is a scalable way to stretch those dollars in a very austere and challenging time for higher ed, particularly right now. And then lastly, it's reaching students that may not otherwise have had access to some of these early career opportunities. These might be students that are, like many students, busy, but maybe extra busy because they're student athletes, or students who are already working and having to work and go to school and can't give up that job that's paying the rent to do an internship, particularly if it's an unpaid internship. These are amazing students that bring a lot of core skills to your organization and that you can work with through these projects without having to force them to be able to have to give up what's, again, paying the bills. So I'm going to take a step back now and just clarify our definition of a micro internship. And then we're going to move into the strategic of where and how this can plug in and why it works. So how we define micro internships is short-term paid professional projects designed to be completed on demand by early career talent. Now, there's a lot of keywords there, so I'm going to unpack a few things just to clarify. First of all, these are designed to be project-based experiences, not replacements for a full-time job, internship, part-time job, or something that would require ongoing tasks. For the students, this gives them a couple of bullet points that they can put on their resume, some resumeable experience, because it has a defined deliverable that they can talk about in a future interview. Short term in that if that 10 to 40 hours is work completed by the student. So 10-hour project, you set the timeline, but it's going to take the students 9, 10, 11, roughly about 10 hours of work. So not designed to something that takes weeks upon weeks, unless it's a 40-hour project. A 10-hour project might be completed over a long weekend, or it might stretch over the course of a couple of weeks. It's up to you. You set the start and end date. A 40-hour project is generally not completed over a Monday through Friday traditional work week, but typically completed over several weeks, maybe even a couple of months. But again, you set the deadline. There's a lot of inherent flexibility with this based on your needs and your timeline, and the student sees all of that up front so that they can self-select if they're available and if they're interested. These are done year-round as well. Some of these programs that we're going to be talking about today do have a particular timeline based on the funding source, but micro-internships, we see demand all year, all day. Projects are posted and filled 365 days a year. And our goal at Parker Dewey not only is to provide the platform, but also to make it easy for you administratively. We handle the payment to the students. The students are under NDA, as is Parker Dewey, and you own the work product. So again, very easy for you to be able to participate. And in the case of this program, you can do so at no cost. Now, the students, though, they are getting paid. And again, thanks to the generosity of these organizations, it's already been pre-funded for these eligible students. So the projects themselves, typically around $20 per estimated hour of work. Some might be a little bit more or less than that, but again, that's just where they typically land. And then the last characteristic is that these are designed to be professional projects. Not babysit my kids, walk my dog, things like that, but similar to what a student would do in a typical internship. Now for you, this is a great opportunity. Not only you can get an ad hoc project done, but more importantly, it gives you a chance to really engage a student to see who is a good fit for those longer term roles. Let me give you an example. Maybe you have an open role right now that you're trying to fill. Maybe you were just at a career fair in the last few weeks recruiting for these roles. Well, to pick on one example, an entry-level data marketer role, if that was one you wanted to focus on with micro-internships, here's how it would work. We would talk you through what is required of that role. Send us your job description, and that will help us to be able to then dissect the job description to be able to identify projects that align to that particular open role. We do that work. You don't need to. We see these projects executed effectively again and again and again, so we'll pick the ones that would help you identify students based on the skills that would be required for them to do those tasks. So for instance, if the role required gathering, analyzing, and reporting data, great. We'll suggest a project like data cleanup and visualization. And you could have one student do that project, but we would recommend have multiple students so that you can engage 3, 5, 10 or more students on these projects. They're each working independently, which allows you the chance to see the students in action, to see their quality of work. to be able to see all the core skills that are so difficult to assess until you actually start working with someone. You can see their attention to detail, but you can also see, did they turn the work in on time? If they had questions, how well did they handle that? And that's what's so great about this and why it's worked so effectively is that all of the core skills, in addition to the technical skills, are so much easier to assess. For example, with these 12 skills that are featured here, every one of us, no matter what jobs we're recruiting for, we want our colleagues to have these skills. We want folks that can be a self-starter, have great attention to detail, that are interested in working for your organization. And what's great about a micro-internship is you're able to see that a student is interested and excited about your company just by the simple fact that they applied to their project. Nobody forces students on Parker Dewey to sign up. It's all, they all self-select. We don't have mass enrollment of students. That's just not how we work. And nobody forces students to apply to these projects. They opt in. And so just by seeing their application, you know they're excited about that project with your organization. Now, when you work with them, you're then able to see all sorts of things, like how effectively do they communicate with you? When you gave them feedback, did they take the feedback? Are they coachable? Are they open to thinking about things differently? And of course, my favorite one, did they turn the work in on time, or are they maybe not the best at deadlines? And then, of course, through the work product, you're able to see all sorts of things about their intellectual curiosity, about how effectively they would fit that role that you have in mind for somebody with their skills. Overall professionalism, did they have a lot of typos in their interactions with you, or were they very professional and courteous and all of that? So you're able to assess all of these things just through these short 10, 20-hour projects, which create some really great opportunities for you to see a holistic picture of what the student could bring to your organization. But it also works really well for the students. Because going back to the survey that I mentioned briefly before, when we've asked students, how do they want to be recruited? Most of them say they start early, but the current methods don't work, at least from their perspective. They want to show you holistically what they can bring to your organization. This allows them to do just that. And in fact, when we've asked them directly, hey, how do you want to be recruited? 95% have said short-term work experiences are how they want to be recruited and selected for the right opportunity. They want to be picked based on the quality of their work, based on the skills that they would bring to your organization. And this model allows you to do that at scale. But it also works really well for you, because through our single platform, you are able to reach students across all colleges and universities nationwide. You name the academic program, it's very eclectic, as I mentioned before, diverse mix of students at all stages of their academic journey. One of my favorite student success stories is a student who did a micro-internship before she even matriculated on campus. She did it when she heard about micro-internships during their freshman orientation. And then similarly, we work with students in graduate programs, students who've recently graduated, students, again, at all stages of their typical 4-year degree, and then 2-year colleges as well. We also see that students selected for micro-internships, 80% of the time, come from historically underrepresented backgrounds. So if diversity, equity, and inclusion is a goal or focus for your organization, this is a really fantastic way to align with those goals, but also in a very egalitarian way, because the students are being selected based on the quality of their work, based on their skills. So again, it aligns very, very nicely with all of the current challenges in the DE&I space. And we see the students do a really, really great job. 97% of the students, the final deliverable, met or exceeded the expectations of the supervisor for that project. And we've also seen that 98% of students who completed micro-internships stay in their first job after college for at least a year or more, which again really lines up nicely compared to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, which has first-year retention being a major challenge and pain point for organizations. Now, with the opportunity to try out Gigs for Good, we're really excited to share that it doesn't just stop at having 1 or 2 projects that you can complete. Through our free trial, you can not only work with students on 5 micro-internships at no cost to your organization, but you also can try out our candidate intelligence platform, which we friendly called Parker Dewey Plus, which, as you can see from those screenshots, if you're a campus recruiter or interested in the data or the recruiting space, this gives you some really powerful and insightful data around a whole bunch of different metrics, KPIs, and so on. So for example, what we will do and the way that this all works is that you have your 5 micro-internships, which we will help you identify by understanding what are your open roles that you're trying to fill, or what skills are you looking for. We'll come up with the projects or help you come up and identify projects so that you can then move forward. And then you can have access to this amazing data to be able to understand where are the students applying, where their hometowns, where their current locations. You can see things like what's the demographics of the student applicants. You can see the feedback that they've received for completing these micro-internships. And all of this, again, measures up to a very cost-effective strategy for you to augment all of the other talent engagement or early career engagement strategies that you're already implementing. Think of this as just the extra icing on the cake to complement everything else that you're already doing at your target schools and that you've been doing all year long at the various campus recruiting events. So to get started, got 2 different options for you. And as I mentioned already, if you're interested in learning a little bit more of the details, stick around. But I did want to give an opportunity to first take a breath, but also to give you a chance, if you have any questions, please plug them into the chat, but also to share a couple of links with you for how you can take some additional next steps if you wish to do so. So for example, the free trial that I just mentioned provides you with the 60-day access to that candidate intelligence platform, no cost, plus those 5 micro-internships. All it takes to get started is a simple, let us know what it is that you're recruiting for, whether it's a specific job description or your key skills. Just fill in this little form and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to put that link in the chat just so that you have it easily and you can get started again right now if you so choose. Or you can set up a time to talk with one of my colleagues. We'd be happy to walk you through more specifically understanding how all this works, or whatever other specific questions that you might have about where this could potentially integrate into your various strategies. And so for that, I have another link. So again, whatever option works best for you, I wanted to make sure you had 2 different options right here. So let's see, I have a real quick question. If I know college students who might benefit from the program, how do they join? Fantastic question, Mike. Thank you so much for asking that. My advice, the best place to go on our website, we do have a section for students, if I can get there. The URL is very straightforward, parkerdewey.com/career launchers, but I'll put that in the chat as well. And if they have specific questions, please feel free. I would be more than happy to be a resource and send them to a member of my team if there's questions or specific questions that ways that can help. But we have a lot of different students that are excited to get started, that they may not have heard about this from their school. And so certainly love to connect them if they're interested. So thanks, Mike. All right, well, moving on, for those of you who want to just get started right now posting your first micro-internship, or maybe get a refresher if you've already joined us before. It's 3 quick and easy steps to get started. First of all, you post the project, you pick the student that you want to work with, and the work gets done. And again, part of the reason why this is designed to be so easy is that behind the scenes, our team has a number of different support folks that are here and happy to help every step of the way. So for example, posting a project. If you don't know what project would be a good fit, well, let's start there and look at some project examples. So for instance, our Gigs for Good program has a number of different examples of programs that you can post at no cost right now. I'll put this link in the chat for you as a reference. But these are fully funded programs that you can participate in just that are going on right now. Now, there's a few of them that do have some specific criteria to be aware of. So for example, this Indiana for the Bold is funded by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, IEDC. So this is a program that is designed to keep Indiana talent in Indiana. And so it's only open for Indiana-based employers. And if that's you, awesome. You can click learn more and participate in that program if that would be of interest to you. Same thing with the Kansas micro-internship program, but just swap out Indiana for Kansas in this case. But we also have programs that are open more broadly to organizations nationwide. So for example, IBM Skills Build is perfect for any of you who have an interest in developing your talent pipeline, particularly for students from underrepresented backgrounds or diverse backgrounds, and with a special emphasis on emerging technology. These are students who have completed coursework in AI, data science, or cybersecurity and are first-year students. So this is definitely an opportunity for you to build your talent pipeline with some awesome students nationwide, again, at no cost, who are learning some of these important emerging technologies. Or the Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation has generally provided funding for organizations nationwide who are actively hiring, who if you have open roles to fill, this program is for you. Or if you're a nonprofit, which again, we have the same generous funding source for both of those. Now, the DeLuca Foundation has a particular emphasis on Connecticut and Florida, just based on their geographic locations, but also based on supporting students from underrepresented background and minority serving institutions, which is why those who are eligible for this is going to be students from HBCUs or a select number of HSIs, Hispanic serving institutions. But again, you can dig into any of these programs that sound interesting to you at your leisure, but I did want to just highlight a couple of those. Now, with the programs that are in front of you, you can click on the program website and then be led to some micro-internship templates. Clicking on any of those templates will pre-populate information about that program, around how much the students would be eligible to be paid, about who's eligible for this program. All of that pre-populates. You don't have to touch a thing. Your role is just to identify what needs to be done and the deadline. And if you want to ask a few questions of the students, you certainly can do that as well. But it's very, very straightforward and quick for you. A couple of things I do want to highlight though, and that is when you are posting these funded program projects, do pay attention to some of those program eligibility requirements. Like what I mentioned before, the Kansas Micro-Internship program is only available for organizations who have ties to Kansas. And that's the Kansas side if any of you are from the St. Louis area, the Kansas City region. Similarly, when you click on those program templates, the name of the program or the school will pre-populate. Leave it alone. You don't need to change anything. That's going to make sure that only the eligible students from that particular school will be able to see the project and apply. Now, there are some programs that have additional eligibility criteria. So for example, some schools have said only students who completed this particular training as part of their academic program are able to do this project. And so in those cases, there might be an extra couple of questions that are added when you're posting these projects. Again, leave those alone. That helps to ensure our team that these eligible students are the ones who are being selected for these micro-internships. So all of this will be in the deck that we'll share with you, but I did want to give you a couple of fine points just for your awareness, or in case you're multitasking and posting a project as I'm talking. Now, once you posted your micro-internship, didn't cost you a thing to create an account or to post a project. And again, this is going to be fully funded through the generosity of these different programs. But you will only see students who have applied to your project. You don't have to worry about filtering through thousands upon thousands of students in the Parker Dewey database. You'll only see those who are interested and available and excited to work on that micro-internship. So it makes it a lot easier for you. You'll also see some really great information about that student, such as their resume or their LinkedIn profile, and most importantly, how they answered whatever short answer application questions you asked of them when you posted the project. Now, with those short answer questions, think of that as a way to replace the time-consuming task of doing phone screens. I've done lots of phone screens in my day, and boy, do they take a lot of time and are kind of repetitive. These short answer questions, you can just plug in a few of those phone screen type questions, as your application questions for the students, and now you can read their answers. So it's a lot faster to vet these candidates, to find the students who are a good fit for whatever it is that you have in mind for that project. From there, once you've selected the student or students, and as I recommended before, it's great to pick multiple students for the same project so that you can see lots of students in action. But from there, you and the student we recommend having a meeting, a Zoom meeting, or a Teams to go over the details of the project. You may also decide to just give some email instructions. And again, we can help you with that if you don't need the student to meet with them real time to get the project started. But we will provide you with some guidance based on the projects that you have in mind of how to best get started. That's part of the consultation that we will help you with. And then from there, students are working on their own, using their own equipment, you working at their schedule, meeting whatever deadlines that you and they established when the project kicked off. If you have questions, no worries. That's what our support team is here for. We have a client success team that is going to be reaching out to both you and the student to make sure that things stay on track, to help if you have questions, to encourage the students on how to best work on the project and all of that. Our big ask is when the project is finished, please give the student feedback. Why? Well, lots of reasons. First and foremost, for the student, yes, they get paid, but this is also an incredible professional development opportunity for them. And that feedback that you give them is critical so that they can learn from this experience. It's also critical for the various funding sources so that they can understand how the program's going and hopefully fund it longer term, and the program can receive additional funding. So please, that is our one big ask, is to make sure you fill out the surveys for the students. It's a very quick survey, 6 quick little quantitative questions, Likert scale, 4-point Likert scale. You can fill that out in less than a minute. And then there's a couple of short answer questions that you can fill out to give a little bit more expanded feedback. It takes me about 5 minutes when I complete these surveys, when the micro interns that I've worked with. And again, this will also give you access to this Parker Dewey Plus candidate intelligence platform with a plethora of recruiting data that I briefly mentioned before, so that you can align your campus recruiting strategies with the projects and have this nice ever-ready talent pipeline that you can access on demand. Now, I also want to talk a little bit more about how companies are doing this at scale. And so micro-internship programs, as I mentioned already, the way they start is with a conversation. Our team has a lot of experience understanding and just mapping out these programs. What we first want to know is, what are your goals? What are your challenges? So for example, maybe you have a goal around reaching student athletes. Maybe you were an athlete yourself and that's something that you would like to do to pay it forward, and you know the value they would bring to your organization. Or maybe you have this ever-present role that you're always trying to fill. You just can't keep it full because it always has high turnover, but maybe you're growing also. Or maybe you just go to career fairs at your target schools, but don't get the traffic that you're looking for. Students don't necessarily think of your organization for having opportunities that would be exciting to them for whatever reason. I know my own experience. I worked for Nestle early in my career, and folks would stop at my table, but usually they were looking for free chocolate rather than understanding how to work in a plant that focuses on frozen food and Hot Pockets in my case. So a little different setup in starting those conversations. So I completely get it. But we want to understand, what are your challenges, your pain points, so that we can then figure out, okay, where can we be helpful? How can we help solve some of those challenges and expand your hiring pipeline? So a couple of examples. First of all, if you have that open role that I alluded to before, that one that's just, you still can't quite get enough applicants or enough acceptances this late in the college recruiting season, you still have that open role, try the job audition micro-internship. In the case of Smith & Nephew, which is a medical device company, for them, this open role was for their rotational development program in sales. And they went to the career fairs and did all the usual strategies, but still had some seats that they needed to fill. So they posted a micro-internship where it was essentially do research on one of our products develop a sales pitch for that product, and deliver it via Zoom. So quick project for the student, but really great way for them to see these students in action, to be able to assess their core skills, communication, to be able to understand their research. And what was really cool was it allowed them to engage students at schools that they weren't on their radar at all, that were in a variety of different academic programs. So for in the case of medical device sales, sure, that's going to attract your business students and probably communications, but it could also attract liberal arts students that really are interested in sales, but also might be studying English, or engineering students who might be attracted by the technical nature of what it is that they're selling, but also are excited about maybe using some of their verbal communication skills and putting that to work. In the case of Smith and Nephew, that led to 5 full-time hires and decreased their cost per hire by over 70%. Incredible metrics, so exciting, but not unusual, because for them, it allowed them to broaden their talent pipeline and reach students that they otherwise would not have missed, or would not have reached. And as I mentioned before, this is work that we will help you with. This is not something you need to become an expert in overnight. We want to know what is that role that you're trying to fill, and then we'll help you identify those projects. Maybe your challenge, though, is that you'd like to hire somebody and kind of build your pipeline 3 to 6 months down the road. Maybe you're thinking about those target schools where you want to deepen your partnership, your relationship, your brand on those key campuses. That's what Train Technologies was trying to do. And they wanted to just make it so that more students were aware of their organization. Not a household name, but they had some incredible opportunities that they wanted students to know about. That's where the Campus Ambassador Micro-Internship was a very scalable and effective way for them to reach students. In their case, it was at target schools that they already had relationships with, but these projects allowed them to engage students that, again, didn't have the organization on their radar. And it was also very easy for them because by posting it as a micro-internship, they avoided some of the administrative headache of how do I pay these students for these short-term projects. We see lots of student ambassador micro-internships. We have them all templated, really ready to go, so it makes it very quick for you to get started. Or maybe your time horizon is much further down. Maybe all of your open roles are filled, your internships, full-time, all that. Congratulations if so, and that's fantastic. But it's not too early to start thinking about next year's strategy or the year after. That's what Xylem was doing. They wanted to make sure that students who have never heard of their organization, which would have included me, I had never heard of them before we started working with them several years ago, but they are a multi-billion-dollar water technology company that has open roles in a zillion different things and working with organizations all across the world to solve the core problem of how do we bring fresh water to places around the world that doesn't have it. And for students, that mission is easy to resonate with for many, many students, but students see them at a career fair, they don't know what that is, what that organization is all about. And so for these micro-internships, the students weren't necessarily signing up for the projects because of Xylem, the name. They were excited about the really interesting projects. And so Xylem's HR team did a phenomenal job of bringing micro-internships as an early career recruiting strategy that engaged departments across their organization. They had projects in areas all over the company and engaged students at 800 plus colleges and universities through their program, so significantly expanding their talent pipeline. And that's all was data that went to their HR team, serving as a fantastic feeder into their summer internship programs and other early career recruiting. Now, these programs are very effective, but also very efficient in getting started. It can get started within a week of understanding your initial goals. Those micro-internships, those are typically filled within 48 hours. Now, some projects you may want to leave them open for a little bit longer to attract a broader array of talent. But again, if time is of the essence based on your strategies and goals, this is something that can be done very, very quickly. And we have a lot of experience in doing this. So I want to just kind of wrap up by just highlighting a few additional case studies, and depending on where you are at with your recruiting strategies, where this potentially could fit in. And so, for example, depending on the hiring challenge that you want to solve, maybe it's student awareness or employer brand. You're just looking for new ways of differentiating yourself and your organization. We have a number of different strategies and ideas. So, for example, helping students to understand who you are, what you do. Maybe your organization just isn't as well known as you'd like, or maybe you're recruiting for roles where it's not necessarily that students don't think of your company and having opportunities in that. For example, Microsoft used micro-internships to fill more than just their technology roles. They also have filled roles in social impact and HR and just some other departments that weren't necessarily what people would normally think of when it comes to Microsoft. And so, if you're still on the footpath when it comes to, or on the road, if you will, for these career fairs, consider posting micro-internships prior to going to the career fairs. That could allow students to be aware of your organization before you even step foot on campus. They may even be students that you want to meet or that you can introduce or network with prior to the career fair to really expand and get them excited. And they could stop by your booth, and that can deepen that relationship and the impact of your participation in that event. We saw that actually with a company that focused on posting micro-internships and engaging students during the NSBE conference last year. It was a great differentiator for them and a great way for them to get students excited about their opportunities immediately, and they could start working on those micro-internships immediately. So lots of different ideas, and I'll go ahead and just let you know that every single one of these you can click, read through whatever is most top of mind depending on your goals. But just to wrap up, and again, I'll take another breath and see if there's any final questions. To get started, a few different options, but you can get started by just simply posting that first micro-internship. And the link, once again, is that Gigs for Good funding link that I put in the chat before. So I'll put that one more time so that you can certainly choose whatever program seems to fit what you're looking for. And in the case, I'll pick on this DeLuca one. If you're actively hiring, for instance, you can see some of these different project templates that align to those open roles that you're trying to fill right now. Post that opportunity. Again, doesn't cost you a dime, and you can go ahead and get started. But we'd also love to understand what are your goals so that we can help you identify the programs, these projects, and just make sure that this goes off exactly as you intended. You get the maximum impact for your particular goals and strategies. So that's where starting with the free trial is a great opportunity that you can take advantage of right now. And again, that's 5 micro-internships, no cost to your organization, plus access to the Parker Dewey Plus Candidate Intelligence Platform. And then again, love to talk with you, or certainly you can meet with another colleague where we can just understand what are your goals, what are your current strategic initiatives around campus recruiting, and how can we be most helpful. So to that end, I welcome any final questions that folks have, but also thank you for joining us today. I hope this is give you some ideas about ways that this might be able to easily plug in a very budget-friendly, but also high-impact opportunity. Mike, appreciate the kudos in the chat. Thank you so much. And if you're still on the road, safe travels for you all. You still have open roles to fill. Give us a call, but also love to just wish you all the best with all of the different things going on. I know it's from personal experience how busy this time of year can be. So thank you for spending this time with us, and hope you have a great rest of the day.